Good morning. It's Saturday the 6th of June, a day of memory for many people, a day when we remember the invasion of occupied France all those years ago towards the end of the Second World War. A day that, like today, was a windy and blustery day. I'm not going to talk about the Second World War, though. There are many thoughts in my mind today. It's one of those days when there are about 6 things I could talk about, and I hope you don't pay the penalty of me going on for about 10 minutes. There are certain things that were in my mind. Firstly, the fact that we passed officially 40,000 people in our country who've died after being tested positive for coronavirus. And of course, many people believe that the total is nearer 60,000 people. Then we have the fact that the papers are full today and yesterday of little Madeleine, a story that's been with us for such a long time and maybe finally coming to, sadly, a very tragic conclusion, but a conclusion that we probably expected, although people hoped against hope. And then we have the fact that over 300 people yesterday died after being tested positive for coronavirus. Massive statistics, one person. And then we have the whole situation that we've seen unfolding in the United States of America over the last week. The terrible death which provoked such uprising and unrest and protest, and also the terrible scenes I saw yesterday, filmed on social media, of police abusing their power. I have a theory that these are men who are afraid because they're in a difficult position, but are also then lashing out because of their fear, although some of them will just do it from prejudice and anger. It's a terribly complex situation. I've taken 2.5 minutes to depress you now. But really what I want to say about that is that the gospel has a message to it. And today's gospel, you may think at the beginning, doesn't really have a message. Jesus is looking at the scribes and says, "Beware of the scribes who like to walk about in long robes, to be greeted obsequiously in the marketplaces, and to take the front seats in the synagogues, to have the places of honor. These are the ones who swallow the property of widows and make a show of their lengthy prayers. The more severe will be the sentence they receive." And then he goes on to talk about what we call the widow's mite, the lady who puts in the last thing she has into the temple offering. And Jesus says, she's given everything she has. She is the greatest giver. And what it brings me around to is the fact that Christianity teaches us that everyone is important. God considers even the sparrow. God cares about everyone. Each of those 40 or 60,000 people who have died in the last few months are important to God. Little Madeleine is important to God. Those people on the streets in the United States, both the police and the protesters, are important to God. But God actually says to us, we must have a priority for the poor and the weak, because in some ways the rich can take care of themselves. That's why the whole Black Lives Matter thing, I think, is important. It's not saying, as some people say, because it threatens them, that all lives don't matter. It's actually saying that for Christian people, and for people of good faith, there must be a priority towards helping those who are weakest and most vulnerable. Whether they are in this country people who are imprisoned by poverty and therefore under more threat from the virus, or in an old people's home, or whether in America and throughout the world they are black people and poor people who are disadvantaged because of their economic situation. Jesus says, the gospel says, that everyone is important to God. Everyone is deserving of honour. An encounter with every person is an opportunity to encounter Christ. And St. Paul to Timothy says we've got to press home that gospel. We've got to press home that gospel because it is a message that can transform the world and is still transforming the world and can still continue to transform the world the more that each and every one of us takes it to heart. Jesus says, yes, that all lives matter, but that above all, we have to give a priority to those who are weak, those who are oppressed, and those who needed to be lifted up. As Mary said in our reading at the beginning of the week, God lifts up the lowly and brings down the proud. May God bless us and keep us today.